From Journey with VRD, you're listening to the Visions, Missions, and Manifestations podcast, the number one place for spirituality, healing, and transcendence. I'm your host, Vivian Raquel Dayan. Now let's get into it. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Visions, Missions, and Manifestations podcast. I'm sorry if the sound is off. I'm in between moves. You know what? Let's talk about it. This has become your favorite part of the podcast, which is the part where I talk about what's going on in the universe of Journey with VRD. Over February of this year, I manifested with my fiance our dream apartment in the city, a 2-bedroom with a ginormous terrace with an excellent view, a corner unit, a corner apartment. So we get windows on 2 sides, which brings in so much light. And I'm really, really grateful for it. And I'm finally moving in over the summer. And it's just been really exciting getting furniture and just being really intentional about what comes into our home and who. And I say and who because the people that get to enter my world are people who are on the same journey as me, people who have the same values as me. It's really important for me to have friends who are in similar seasons of life with a partner or looking for love. It recently came to my attention. Like, I really want to get into this for a second. Just like they say, you should never take advice from somebody that you don't want to be like. So too, you should never have friends that you don't want to be like, or that you don't want to influence your life. Because just like the quickest way to manifest anything is to change your friends, to uplevel your friend group to people who already have the things that you're calling it. So too, the quickest way to not have your manifestation is to surround yourself with people that you don't want to be like, or take advice from people that you don't want to be like. Which is also why you should never really care what people that you would never want to be like think of you or say about you. Anyway, these are just things that I wanted to talk about because as I am creating my new home with my fiance, it's really important that the people who come into this home are people who love, who are people who are spiritual, who are intentional, who are high achievers as well, and have similar values so that when they do come into the home, the energy is amplified. 3 values that are very important to me are love, honesty, and respect. And if somebody isn't loving on their significant other, their spouse, their partner, and they're constantly fighting, I do not want them in my world because I don't want to pick up their habits. The quickest way to manifest anything is to manifest friends, is to make friends who have the thing that you want. Because as we all know, when we make new friends, what do? We take on their habits. And if we take on somebody else's habits, we're going to manifest what's in their life. So if you're making friends who are always fighting with their spouses or partners, or are always talking shit about their partner, or they're always complaining, then you are going to pick on that habit. You're going to take on that habit and you're going to end up manifesting that thing. And it's really important for me to be intentional about my friends because I am only picking up on habits that I want to emulate. I'm only going to choose friends whose lives I'm inspired by people who I'm inspired by. Because it's really important for me to have a home where me and my partner, me and my fiance, me and my soon-to-be husband respect each other and love on each other in a way that is balanced and respectful and honest. So that's really important. And it's something that I wanted to talk about because my clients are always asking me, Vivian, when is my manifestation gonna come already? And I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about who you're surrounding yourself with because you're a sum of the 5 to 8 people that you spend the most time with, whether that be in person, on the phone, or virtually through Zoom. Even like, who are you listening to the most? If you're somebody who's loves to listen to podcasts, who are you listening to most of the time, right? Because they're gonna have a mega effect on your life. Another thing about friendships is if you're feeling stuck, look at your friendships. Are any of them ahead in terms of where you want to be? And if the answer is no, then no wonder why your glass ceiling is so low and you feel stuck. It's because you're trying to fit yourself into a box instead of break to break break free, which I totally understand could feel scary, which I totally understand you could have anxiety about because it's the unfamiliar. So, which is why it's really important to make new friends and to have different types of friends in different areas in life, right? Because they're going to expand you into what is possible for you specifically. And so some of my clients who may be listening to this episode right now might be laughing their head because they all know that it was a moment where they made new friends, up leveled the people that they were spending the most time around, made those hard decisions, that their manifestations didn't just come through, they came running through. It was like they did the thing that felt uncomfortable and that they felt were a bit of a challenge. And then all of a sudden, the thing that they've been waiting for, that they've been working towards, came right in. It's once we make that choice, that decision, that the universe says, okay, she's serious about the things that she wants. She's serious about this decision. And not only is she just daydreaming about it, she's even taking the aligned action and she's making the new friends and she's making the new decisions that reflect the person that she's now becoming. Okay, we'll give her the manifestation. And it's really, really humbling. And I'm so honored to be on this journey with so many of you where I'm constantly seeing you guys rise up level and manifest the shit out of your life. You guys are doing incredible. And I'm just so happy to be here with all of you. And then the other thing I want to say about friends is that when you have a friend that you feel like is jealous of you or isn't supporting you, I just want to remind you that sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. If you're speaking to a friend who doesn't get your vision, your mission, or your manifestations, it could very, very, very likely be that it's because they don't believe that those visions, missions, and manifestations, that purpose is possible for them. And if somebody doesn't believe that something is possible for them, they're sure as hell not going to believe that it's possible for you. So friendships are extremely important, and you should definitely be very intentional about who you let into your life. Look, take a moment to actually journal out where your energy is leaking. Who is giving you anxiety? When you pick up somebody's call, like a certain somebody, how do you feel after? When you see a certain name pop on your phone, is it getting you excited or is it making you like, oh, this person again? Or, oh my gosh, I'm so scared with this. And sometimes it's a family member who causes the anxiety, and it's time to create boundaries around them. I literally get paid to help people create boundaries around family because we love them so much. So we often give so much of ourselves when in actuality, that giving is draining us to a new level, to a level where we can no longer exist happily because we gave so much. And so I just want to let you know there that boundaries are extremely important. You can read the books, Setting Boundaries Will Set You Free, Codependency No More. Otherwise, I'm happy for you to book a session with me. I have 5 one-on-one, like one-on-one single sessions available for the month of June. And I only have 2 VIP spots left for the entire year. So if you wanted to work with me for a consistent 3 months on the VIP level, which just accelerates your manifestations and makes the process happen in like snaps versus waiting, hoping, and praying for years and years and years and years for your life to change, then message me the word VIP on Instagram and we'll book a discovery call. Otherwise, I'll put the link to book a discovery call with me to apply to work with me in the show notes. And you can use this link to apply for a single session, or if you want to work VIP. If you want to work with me for a consistent 3 months, you can also do that without the VIP. So that just means you don't get the in-person manifestation days for you. The VIP days are days that I curate for you in New York City, where I make the best, most perfect day for you specifically based off what you're manifesting. In New York, I put you up in a 5-star hotel. And what this does is put you in the manifestation of what you're calling in so that we collapse the time it takes for the manifestation to come in. Because as we all know, we don't manifest based off what we want. We manifest based off who we are being, right? So in these VIP days, you're actually being the version of you that you're manifesting, which just collapses the times it takes for your actual manifestation to come through because you're literally being her. Anyway, another funny thing, just talking about VIP days makes me laugh because a lot of my clients who are in 3-month containers with me, they're always telling me like, Vivian, you've become the person that I talk to the most. You've become one of like my best friends, which is why the VIP days end up being so much fun, full of so much laughter, and everybody always books another one because it's like life changing. It's full of happy, loving energy. So if you're in a rut, you're stuck, definitely apply. If you want to change your life in any way, if there's something you really want to manifest, whether it's a soulmate, whether it's inner peace, whether it's a new home, let's manifest it together. Let's get the girl trip out of the group chat and let's make it happen. Um, just direct message me on Instagram, apply. I'll send you the application, or VIP if you want to book one of the last 2 VIP slots for the entire 2025. Okay, now that we moved past friendships and moving and applying to work with me, I want to share something else with you. Drum roll, please. Okay, so because friendships are really, really important in manifesting, and we really do want to surround ourselves with people who understand us, who are on this journey too, with people who are going to uplift us and help us rise, people who are magnetic, people who are going to see you, celebrate you, support you, and you don't have to hide anywhere, people who are going to include you, people who are of a high frequency. It is so important for me to create a journey with BRD community, which isn't the only reason why I have a secret society membership, which you all know is fantastic. And you're all manifesting huge things. We just all worked on our $1 million lifestyle last night in the secret society group call. But because of this, I love hosting retreats. So at the end of October of 2025, October 24th to October 27th, I'll be hosting a manifestation rejuvenation retreat in Florida. It is a VIP luxury retreat, meaning there is going to be a chef, a vegan chef. We're going to be doing sound healing on the beach. We're going to be having Reiki sessions and massages and really high frequency parties and really high frequency rituals and workshops and manifestation events all happening on this retreat. So I'm so excited for it. Plus, we're going to have these incredible women, this community, uplift each other, support each other through the manifestation process. So if you're feeling like you have to be there, we only have 3 spots left to this retreat. I cannot even believe how many people have signed up for this retreat already. I guess it just is a testament to how well the Sedona Manifestation and Healing Retreat went back in February. And so this is just so exciting. And I really hope to see you there because this is a life-changing retreat. No matter where you're feeling stuck, you're going to soar, you're going to tap into freedom, and you're going to learn so much. You're going to come back home to that inner girl inside of you who just wants to play, who just wants to be taken care of and have so much fun. So with all of that, I have to introduce today's guest. Her name is Lindsay, and we recorded a few months ago. And it's been really difficult for me to put this episode out because on the day of our recording, I had a low T trauma occur. I was baking a cake and I was missing an ingredient, and I walked to Target in Times Square. Don't ask me why I was in Times Square. And as I was walking through the door, I felt somebody yank my hair really hard. And I was really confused, but it hurt. Like I was able to feel the energy of the hurt before I felt the physical pain. And the tears started pouring down my face before I even like registered what had happened. And when I turned around, a homeless lady pulled my hair really bad. And I don't know if I'm explaining this, how hurtful it felt, but it was a bunch of confusion and mixed emotions. And getting to this episode to edit just kept bringing me flashbacks of this moment. And so I finally have done the healing around it, and I'm so happy to finally release this. And I know that you're absolutely going to love this. I met Lindsay at Istha Yoga in New York City, right near NYU. She is an incredible yin yoga teacher and an incredible sound healer. And I feel so honored to have met her, to be in her world, and to share this episode with you. So without further ado, here's the show. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast, Lindsay. We met in Ishta Yoga in New York City, where you led a sound bowl and yin yoga class. And it was
Mhm.
everything my body needed and more. My body, my mind, my soul. And do you want to talk a little bit about how you got into it?
Yeah, I started practicing yoga in high school, really. My mom, I don't know if this is like a common thing across the country, but the PTA at my school would have like these fundraisers called Tricky Trays, and my mom won a basket of like yoga props and things. So it's like a yoga mat, a water bottle, some like video of, whatever little things. And she brought it home, this basket of things. She didn't do yoga or anything, but was always like a little spiritual. And I was kind of interested around that time. And my brother had also gotten, I don't know if you remember those like P90X DVDs of they were like this like workout fad in like early 2000s maybe. Where it was like 90 days to get shredded. And one of the videos in that was a yoga video. And it was like the most challenging workout of the whole set, I feel like. Like there was 100 push-ups and just really intense. But I remember doing those with him like on a video for a while and really liking it. And then just kind of getting more into, I was always an active kid, so I always liked some type of movement and things. And I really found once I started to going to yoga classes in person that I just felt so good afterward. I remember I had just gotten like my license or my permit or whatever, and I would go on Groupon and buy these like yoga class Groupons because that was all I could afford to, right? Like the intro special. And I would go to these classes and just leave feeling so relaxed and just like happy, like, driving with the windows down, just like high on life after these yoga classes. So I just kept practicing it. And then after college, there was an opportunity to do a teacher training at a place that I had been volunteering at. And I was like, you know what, this is it. So that became just a snowball effect of a million yoga teacher and meditation teacher trainings after that. And now I teach like full time basically. So it's been quite the journey.
Wow. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Jersey, in a town called Carlstadt, New Jersey, like right by like Giant Stadium area. So not far from New York City, not far from where I live now. But yeah, like North Jersey my whole life.
Wow, that's incredible. So your mother won like the sound bowl uh basket, or did it just have yoga accessories?
Just yoga accessories. But sound was always, it's funny because actually one of the chimes that I have now, she had purchased at like some metaphysical shop at one point. Like she was always like kind of into the rituals and things. She would like sage my house after she would clean on the weekends and was always kind of in that spiritual lane of things. So I think, that guided me toward like I remember she was into numerology when I was a kid, like into just dabbling kind of in these healing arts a bit. So
Yeah, I love that because I always wonder how did someone come out of the spiritual closet? But it seems like for you, you didn't really have to do that so much because she was
mhm.
right there with you.
Yeah. And now she's great. She comes to my classes. She like the sound ones, the yin stuff, the slower stuff she'll come to and is always super, encouraging around it. So it's been really nice to have that kind of relationship.
For sure. And would you say yin is your favorite type of yoga?
Yeah, definitely. I never was quite a vinyasa person. I feel like I am just naturally a little like high energy, a little high anxiety type of person. And so I really found yin and restorative yoga and like just the slower practices to be much more nourishing and balancing for me because I feel like everything else I'm doing is high energy and like bouncing around and just living in like the New York area. There's just so much happening all the time. So I really feel like I need that kind of like downshift, down regulation type of practice. So yeah, yin is definitely my favorite. I think it's just so effective. I find myself when I go to practice, like only wanting to do yin type postures. So it was just kind of a natural transition for me.
Yin yoga has always been my favorite. Or that feeling that you described, being in your teens and high school, going to yoga and feeling like just so happy afterwards is exactly how I feel after taking your class.
Mm,
just so recentered and back home. It's like a reset that I needed, an
mm.
inner massage. And I love how you incorporate sound in your classes. I think it's so special and so needed. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you were introduced to sound?
Yeah, so similarly kind of with this yoga training background, right after I had graduated my 200-hour teacher training, I was basically just taking any workshop, any like any event that was happening around yoga and wellness and spirituality, I was like, as much as I can get my hands on. And I had taken an intro to sound, like training, a workshop, like a 2-day workshop at Three Jewels in New York with a teacher named Marla's Campos. And she's incredible. She like healed herself from like autoimmune diseases with sound and is so amazing. I don't know how much she offers it now, but I remember doing that weekend and I had purchased a bowl from her, like a brass bowl, and had that for a while. And at the same time, as I was doing other teacher trainings, got really into the practice of mantra and chanting.
Mm,
And so a lot of my meditation background is in like mantra and Kriya based meditation. So a lot of vocalizing and expression, and like vibration and chanting. So I think between like the mix of that and then really just like the pandemic being locked in my house and feeling like I needed something for like relief, and the sound was just super powerful. I had that one bowl at the time, but then pretty quickly after I was like, you know what, I think I want to buy bowls, and really just started teaching myself and experimenting. And I would find like, I would sit down for 10 minutes to meditate with the bowls, and I would sit there for 45 minutes or like an hour would pass, and I would just so in such a deep experience with them that it just felt like the natural thing. And then post pandemic, as I started teaching in studios again, one of the owners of a studio I was teaching at like saw that I was like playing with bowls. Like I would post on my story, and she was like, "Oh, do you do like sound healing?" And I was like, "No, like not no." And she was like, "You should incorporate it into your class." So we did. We incorporated it like every other week at first, and people were just like flocking to the classes, like really like more than any other class on the schedule. I think especially after that collective stress that we had all been through, the sound was just such a great remedy. And quickly that class became like a weekly class, and then just started to be offered more and more. And I think, it's kind of undeniable the way that the sound like helps you meditate and helps you get into that space. And I find it so accessible for people who even have never meditated before. Um, it's just like magic a little bit. So it just kind
mhm.
of like took me, right? Like I didn't really, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I don't think I would have said like sound would be the thing, but now it's really become the majority of what I offer. So yeah.
Mm. It sounds like yoga fell into your lap, and
Mhm.
then it led you to sound, which is what you do now and love. And there's this belief that I've heard multiple times where when something's part of your purpose, it finds
Mhm.
you. And so I wonder, what's your big vision, mission, and manifestation around healing through sound and yoga?
Yeah, I think my big vision for it is just to expose as many people as possible to meditation. I think ultimately meditation has been the thing that's been the most transformative in my life and the most useful tool in understanding myself and like managing my own stress and anxiety and all the things I've gone through. And so I think like high vision for it is, and the reason I think sound, I've gravitated so much towards sound is because it's really just a powerful tool where it kind of transcends like barriers of language. Like I had done a sound meditation for my family, and my grandma doesn't speak really any English, only Spanish. And, even though I lead sessions all the time, I was leading for them and I like couldn't say a word. Like I had no words. I was like choked up, even just being with my family. And I remember playing for her, and afterwards she was telling me like how deeply she experienced this state of meditation and saw herself on a beach. And like it's just so amazing. I think the feeling that I was feeling in high school after going to those yoga classes, I can feel so quickly through sound. And I feel like I can give people that experience of that like high, expansive, liberated feeling that I used to have without them needing to have any physical qualification or ability, right? Like sound just really allows anyone, whether we speak the same language or whether you have any previous experience or, it's not religious. It's just like kind of one size fits all, in my opinion. So I think knowing that, just getting in front of as many people as possible, giving them these experiences where they can feel that in their body. And maybe that's like the key that opens up their deeper dive into these other practices or other inner work is really the vision, I think.
What do you think it is about the sound specifically that is so healing?
I think sound is so healing because everything all day long is vibrating, right? Like every cell in our body is constantly vibrating. And even for you, I know in like manifestation, we talk about like our vibration and our energy, right? And a lot of the times our energy is very easily thrown off by the things that we're eating or the people that we surround ourselves with or the lack of sleep we're getting or whatever it is. And I feel like with sound, it's kind of like a hard reset, right? It reminds the body of its natural potential toward healing and homeostasis, right? It's if you listen, there's this device called a plant wave, and basically they plug this little machine onto like leaves of flowers and trees and plants, and you can hear that like nature is singing, right? Nature makes like a sound all day long, a beautiful, harmonious sound. And when they plug it onto a plant that's like thirsty or dying, it makes like a screaming sound, right? It's like not balanced. And so we're the same thing, right? When we are around these vibrations from singing bowls or gongs or chimes or whatever it is, our body naturally harmonizes with that and returns to that natural state of health and well-being that it's not able to access when we're depleted. So it's really like energy work in that way, but also just an extremely physically like felt practice as well that I think helps a lot of people connect with it and kind of cut through the like woo woo feeling of other types of energy healing, which I love and know and use as well. But I think it's so like tactile, and you can physically feel the shift that's happening in your body. And so I think that helps it kind of transcend whatever other hangups people might have about it.
And this might seem a little bit silly, but I'm curious, how does the sound bowl player or the sound healer know whether they're creating sound that heals or depletes?
That's a very good question. I think um, ultimately there's this quote by this author Jonathan Goldman, who's like a really big prominent voice in the sound uh, industry, the sound world, and he talks about this kind of theory or this equation that sound plus or frequency plus intention equals healing.
Mm.
And I think that's the biggest piece of it, right? Like any sound that we experience all day long has the potential to either be a healing sound or a depleting sound, but it's just our approach to it, right? It's the same if you bring your friend to a yoga class who doesn't want to be there and doesn't enjoy yoga and doesn't think it's for them, right? You could go to the same yoga class with them and you could be like, transcended and like over the moon when you leave, and you'll ask them how it is and they'll say, it was just okay, right? It's like our intention going into any experience is what shifts it from being a healing experience to a depleting or unaligned experience. So, as a sound practitioner, as the one creating a sound space, I usually try to play notes that sound well together, like chords and things that are harmonious, because that generally leaves a feeling of like lightness and a more harmonious kind of energy versus dissonant sounds that might like kind of scratch each other a bit or kind of have a little like uneasy feeling. So I try to play more harmonious sounding things, but ultimately any sound can be helpful. Even like sounds that we wouldn't think are helpful. Like I talk a lot about this in the trainings that I lead, the difference between like heavy metal or rock music and music made for healing, right? Like you could, if you're going to go for a run down the street, it's not really helpful for you to listen to like healing frequencies because that's just not really like the pace at which you need, right? You put on like a hip hop song or like a rock song to get your heart rate going, to get you motivated to move in sync with that. And so again, like every music, every sound has like a purpose and a place where it can be helpful and useful. It's just like our relationship to it and how we judge it or approach it or use it with intention or with not without.
I love everything you just said, and I want to take this even a little deeper.
Mm,
I remember last year after going on a spiritual retreat, I returned back to New York City, and I live, as you know, in the heart of New York City, like right by all the
yeah.
trains and everything, Times Square. And I woke up in the morning and I had to go to the subway. And first of all, just walking in between so many people and hearing the siren of the ambulance, it hurt
Hmm.
me. And now
Hmm.
I get down to the subway and the screech of the
Yeah.
wheels against the metal. My head really just, and I questioned, I'm like, why am I here in New York City?
Hmm.
Because it hurt my soul, quite frankly. And when we think of sound and how it could shift our personality and our emotion and our state of being,
Hmm.
really, there's a much deeper thing happening. It's really affecting us on a cellular and molecular level. It could Sounds can either bring us up higher energetically and vibrationally and happily, or it
Hmm.
could make us want to crawl into our skin.
Hmm.
And so when you brought up, heavy metal and rock music versus meditation music, would you say that, and I'm laughing thinking of this because I know it could be a little like contradictory. Would you say, and it's totally okay if you wouldn't, like I'm just so curious, that heavy metal rock would necessarily like could sometimes bring your energy down versus listening, not that it has to be meditation music, but versus listening to music with beautiful words and melodies, and even if it's a pop song.
Yeah. I I don't love to judge like good or bad, right or
Right,
wrong,
right.
but and with that, I would tend toward leaning into songs that have some type of positive message or intention or sound behind them. I think those are generally going to be better for you. But I think about like people who go to heavy metal concerts and go and like into a mosh pit, right? And they're like fighting each other and like punching each other. And while I don't, love that, right? Like the violence kind of energy, I do think that it allows people to access a feeling or a sensation or an emotion that maybe other points in their life they're not able to access or connect with or move through in a useful way. And so I think that music can help you have like a release in that way. And so again, when used like intentionally, I think it can be really helpful. I do think like, I the same thing with movies or anything that you interact with, right? If you're watching horror films all day, if you're watching like these true crime documentaries to go to sleep, you're going to have nightmares, right? Like it is affecting you. Like anything that you take in is going to have an effect on you. So I think of course we can enjoy the things that we can enjoy, right? I still listen to rock music, I still listen to like rap music, whatever. But I tend more and more, the more that I learn the power of sound, the more that I tend toward healing sounds or music that inspires something positive within me versus um, something maybe a little heavier, a little uh, stronger. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
that's a good way. But again, there's times for it all.
hmm I love that. Was so well said. I'm curious to know what has been one of the most surprising or cool facts around sound that you've learned recently.
That's such a good question. I think, well, the first thing that pops into my mind is just really the ability of sound to like shift and to heal. So they find this with bees in their hives. Like if the hive becomes unhealthy or sick or something happens with the queen, they have recordings of other healthy hives and they'll play the recording of the healthy hive to the hive that's like dying, and that hive will naturally like come back to health and
Oh my,
flow. Yeah. So it's really powerful. Again, it's like that's with bees, but like that can happen with people as well, you know?
yeah, I'm thinking about that because when you said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, why aren't they doing this for people? But you know what? I've just been thinking about like what's a healthy person, right? Like how would we get
Mm,
that sound? Because I feel like first of all, health is so subjective. It's so
hmm.
subjective and there's so in humans. Like I feel like bees don't have as complex lives as humans do, you know?
Yeah,
Their lives
maybe.
they have complex lives, but I'm saying like, they don't have so many options. We have a lot of options and a
Hmm.
lot of choices. I don't know even know what's healthy and what that sound would be because there's so many different variations of healthy. That being said, all of that being said, I also think it would be amazing if we could begin to heal bigger things with playing sounds of health. And I do, like,
Hmm.
I know from my own experience, and I know that you most likely can say the same. Like sound healing heals. It's why it's
Hmm.
called sound healing. Like when I go to sound baths or sound experiences, I feel realigned after. There's been times where
Hmm.
I just started crying because something
Yeah.
released, you know? It sound healing heals. It realigns. It's funny, today I gave a manifestation talk on the Upper East Side, and one woman was just like, "Listen, I don't do any psychedelics, but is there she was older and she was like, is there a way I can experience a trip without taking anything?" And
Mm.
I was like, yes, there's so many different ways, First of all, there's breath work, which releases natural DMT in the
Hmm.
brain. And I've also experienced many journeys through sound baths,
Hmm.
sound experiences. And sound has a capability, like you said, to take us to the beach, to take us, like your
Hmm.
grandmother, or take us to different places where we can explore and gain more clarity in this life, in this reality. What has been your favorite experience as an experiencer of sound?
I think most recently I attended a class with a teacher of mine, Samer Gadri is his name. He teaches in New York, and it was really cool to experience his kind of sound meditation. I think a lot of the times that I practice sound meditation for myself, I come from like a meditation, a yoga background, not so much like a music background, right? Like I started practicing yoga and that's how I got into sound. But his experience, he was like a drummer for a band before he got into sound. And I just find anytime I take or attend a class or meditation with somebody who has a background in music, I just find the way that they interact and create a soundscape is just like super unique and super deep and like layered in a way that even myself as a like sound enthusiast, but maybe not, I don't know that I'd call myself a musician, right? Like I don't have that same kind of like touch with it. So his sound meditation was really beautiful. He just played a bunch of instruments and I was like, it sounded like a rainforest. I was like, how did he, I was like, how is he making these sounds? You know, so I really, really enjoyed that. And I think anytime that I'm in a sound meditation and I like want to smile, I think that's like how I know it's a good one, right? Like when that just natural, like childlike wonder or like awe arises, I think that's the best thing you could do for a student or as a practitioner is to get people to feel that like wonder about the
Mm.
sound.
Wonder is one of the most powerful things in the entire world because it's
Hmm.
the crystal trigger that takes us to our next level. Just curiosity
Mm, yeah.
and it's such a creative process. We get into wonder and such a creative
Hmm.
process as well.
Yeah.
Like, I love that you said that. And what would you tell the person who maybe has only done one sound healing or sound experience or never did
Mm.
it at all? What's something that they should know before going into it or getting deeper into it?
I think that before you go into it, or if it's your first experience using sound or attending a sound meditation, would just be that to be open to the experience and allow whatever comes up to be part of it. Sometimes it will feel really relaxing, right? Sometimes it'll feel really relaxing and joyful and wonderful and, exciting. Sometimes it'll feel really sleepy and like down regulating and calming. But other times it might bring up emotion or anger or frustration or sadness or grief that kind of was under the surface. And I like to just encourage students not to resist or to come in with too much of an expectation about how the thing should feel and just let it kind of happen in the moment and process, and also to stick with it, right? Like if you're in a session and some feeling of anger or frustration or whatever arises, like sit with that for a few minutes, and you might notice that as the sound changes or as the experience goes on, that initial sensation kind of fades away, right? So like
Mm.
not to like dissect the feeling, right? Like if you get angry, not or upset or, sad about something, you don't have to go into a thought process around it and think about why it's happening. Instead, just like detach a bit from that and let it be a physical sensation or a physical emotion that's just kind of moving through, and see how that lands. And I would say too, like if you go to one sound experience and it isn't, sunshine and rainbows, like try other practitioners, because I think it is a very personal thing, and not every teacher or facilitator is for everybody. And so just being, giving it like 3 or 4 tries before you give up on it, I think is a good rule of thumb. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And while you were speaking, I was even thinking, and then you like took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking it's so interesting how when you go to a sound experience, it's never like sound experience to heal grief, sound experience to heal relationship, right? It's always
Yeah.
like you show up to the sound experience and whatever's supposed to take place takes place. And if
Hmm.
you don't jive with one experience, you can try a different practitioner. And yeah, you nailed it on the head. I love everything that you said. A question I ask everybody on the podcast is if you were to have a spiritual gift or a sixth sense, what would yours be?
If I were to have a sixth sense, I mean, I feel like I already do. I feel like with all the the meditation and everything, like for a while I was practicing Reiki pretty regularly, and I really found myself like channeling like medium style, like getting really clear pictures and images and kind of like clairvoyance and clairaudience. So I think that would be kind of the easy choice, or the thing that maybe I'd like to cultivate or develop more of. But if you're thinking like really a sixth sense, like a magical power, I would love to like fly, you know.
Mm,
But I mean, I guess I can in my mind, but yeah, I don't know if that was the
no, I
intention of the
love that.
question, but
I love to hear, I love it. I love to hear it. And okay, so mediumship and flying.
yeah.
You have to let me know if you get any messages during the rest of this interview because
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Doesn't
Um,
always, I feel like it doesn't happen unless I'm like
in it.
in that like meditative mode. Like it's not so, I'm not like the Long Island medium or anything, but uh for a while, like just the information that's available when you like get quiet like that, right? Like I think it's always there and anyone can tap into that like deeper knowing, but you just have to like get out of your own busyness for a little bit to tap into that. And it's surprising how much like you can intuit just by getting quiet and listening.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm curious to know if you have any daily or morning rituals or any ritual at all, it doesn't have to be daily, that you do in order to realign yourself, in order to continue to show up at a high frequency, a high level of
Yeah.
self-worth.
I think for a while at the beginning, I had like rituals and like things I would do. And now it's kind of like a grab bag on what I'm like needing that day. But I think the thing that would be the most consistent is really in the shower. I always am visualizing the water like clearing my energy. And I think that's like the biggest consistent thing that I do pretty much every time I take a shower, of just like the water is cleansing me. Like when I come out of this shower, out of this bath, I am like renewed. And I really feel such a shift with water in that way. And so I think that's my most like consistent, reliable, like dependable practice that I do frequently to just like wash off whatever stuck energy I've been carrying or picked up and kind of start my day or even end my night with just like a fresh slate.
I actually absolutely love that. And it's funny that
Mm,
you say that because in between clients or when I do big talking events, I always take a bath afterwards.
mm,
It's like my cleansing. It like
yeah,
resets me. So I
yeah,
really love that you said that, like it's a cleanse. And
yeah,
I love that about water. And I
yeah.
love that you said that because it really resonates.
Yeah, because I do everything else too, right? I have the crystals and the cards and the sage and the all the things, but I think that like the showering and that like the visualizing of the water really like clearing my energy field, I think is the most consistent thing I do to keep myself
Mm.
like feeling aligned and recharged.
Yeah. I'm curious, when did you know that you were going to go into yoga and sound full time?
I think around as I was like graduating college, I went to school for marketing and I remember being in college thinking like I could never work for like Coca-Cola or like McDonald's, right? Like I remember having like friends who were getting these internships at like these big corporations, and I was like, I never want to do that. I was like, I don't want to do that. And I loved yoga and wellness and um wasn't a teacher yet, but like knew that I wanted to be kind of in that field where I was like helping and connecting with people. And then really honestly, I have only been fully full time, like honestly, for a little bit over a couple months, really full time. But like for the past 4 years, I've been working with like a yoga company. So maybe for 4 years, yoga has been my main job. But um, going full time is tough in New York City, where everything is super expensive and classes don't pay a ton. Like a group class doesn't pay enough to cover your rent usually. So it took me some time to build up like the clientele and the experience to be able to go off on my own and do it. But I think I knew I wanted to do it like the moment I took my first yoga training, like 8 or 9 years ago. I was like, oh, this is like what I want to do. I think it just took time to get that experience and to get that like comfort and clientele in that way. So it's always been something that I've aspired to do and took a little time, but I'm happy to say I've arrived.
Congratulations, because it's
Yeah.
huge. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And has there ever been a rock bottom you hit? Like, being on the
Mm.
floor, feeling like, oh my gosh, this is the end. I can't get any worse. That was almost also a pivotal moment in your life where everything changed at the same time for the better.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the rock bottom wasn't so like, so rock bottom, but I do feel like during the pandemic lockdowns, I was working for a company which I loved my job. I was like happy doing it. As the pandemic happened, I was working in like events for this company, and then I shifted into like another internal marketing team there. And I just remember during the pandemic sitting on Zoom calls for like literally from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., like no breaks, maybe 30 minutes to get lunch. And, I even remember telling my manager, like, I just need to be on less meetings. Like, I can't even do the work that I need to do because I'm just like on calls all day. And I just remember at that point feeling like I loved the people that I worked with. I loved like the mission of the company. I loved like the idea of what the job was, but I knew that I just like wasn't for me. It was draining me. I wasn't
Mm,
happy. I was just feeling like my body was unhealthy. Like it was kind of like a ripple effect of like it just wasn't working for me. And I knew as much as it was scary to like take the leap and try to get out of that position, I did so like really slowly and respectfully. Like I told my boss, I gave her like 2 months notice for I trained the next person coming in after me, like I
mm,
did it in a slow, really mindful way of exiting that because I just knew it wasn't for me to work like that corporate 9 to 5 grind. And maybe now it's changed a bit. I feel like our relationship to Zoom has changed a bit, but I just remember being like, I can't sit down all day at a computer. Like, I'm dying there, you know?
I do know. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, I mean, I love that you shared that because I think there's a lot of people out there who have 9 to 5s and it's draining them. And it's not until they actually get the physical sensation of it being too much, that they actually do something about it. And I
Yeah.
think that there's also a fear of like, well, if I don't do this, how will I pay my bills?
Yeah.
And I think the good news is that there's a bigger space for more creative positions. There's more space for work from home or hybrid jobs.
Yeah.
Um, and entrepreneurship has become way more popular. So I'm curious, where do you see, and I love your Instagram name, Smiling in Shavasana. Where do you see yourself in Smiling in Shavasana in like 3 to 6 years when it comes to sound and yin?
Yeah, I would love to just continue kind of the trajectory of what's happening right now. I think I lead a lot of trainings, which I really enjoy because I think a big reason that I have gotten into teacher training and sharing this with other people to like get them to be facilitators is I know my limitation, right? Like I can't be the single sound healer, sound meditation practitioner in New York, right? Everyone has their own community and their own network of people that like would never come to my class, but might go to your class or might go to so and so's
Mm.
class, right? So I think the teacher training piece of and like mentorship for other teachers is such a big part for me because I know that like through that we can reach more people than we would be able to reach just individually. So I think just continuing with the teacher trainings and mentorships. I'm partnered right now with a really good friend of mine, Jackie Cantwell. We do a program called Bowl Club, which we're trying to expand to have more mentorship opportunities and more learning opportunities and like a membership and things like that, but also leading retreats and just continuing kind of in this world of yoga, yin yoga training, all the trainings and retreats and things. And just really, I know that teaching is ultimately the thing that like is like what I'm meant to do. And so keeping that at the forefront, connecting weekly still in classes with people, I just want to keep doing more of what I'm doing because I know that it's super helpful and helps people show up in their lives more fully and connect with people more fully. So I think just more classes, more retreats, more trainings,
And you have a retreat
more
coming up, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm doing a retreat to Sicily with a friend of mine, Patrick Franco. We did it last year, which was like so amazing. And now this year we're going back to the same place. So we have everything worked out, right? Like no hiccups. I mean, last year was pretty perfect too, but it's really nice to go back to the same place and know the lay of the land and everything. So yeah,
Mm.
we're going back to Sicily, June 30th to July 5th. So yeah, if anyone's interested, if you're listening and you feel like Sicily would fix you. Come on down.
I was literally thinking like, do you have any more spaces left? Because there might be listeners who are like,
Yeah,
I need to join. How would they join
yeah.
if there's somebody listening right now and they want to work with you, or they want to learn more about you, or they want to come on the retreat? Where do they go?
I feel like Instagram is a great place to connect with me. I'm on there chronically online, like all of us, you know. So my Instagram is smilinginshavasana.com, but also, or smiling in Shavasana, period, for Instagram. And then smilinginshavasana.com is my website. I also do a lot of things through the studio called Yoga Renew and 1-800 Bowl Club is our other Instagram. So Instagram's like if you Google me, you'll find me and just send me a message. I respond, email or however carrier pigeon, however you can get to me, I'll respond. So yeah,
I love that. That's
yeah,
awesome, Lindsay.
yeah.
And is there anything else that you want to share for the listener?
I think earlier we had like moved on to another question, but you
Ah,
were talking about sound like baths and sound experiences and sound healing. And one of the big things I like to talk about is like just the difference between sound healing and sound meditation and like the language that we use around it. And I really try as often as possible. And, because of like SEO, I definitely say sound healing and things like that. But I really try to emphasize this. experience of sound meditation because I find that sometimes when you see something that's like sound healing and you go and you have a negative experience with it,
Mm.
you're like, that wasn't healing. That couldn't have healed me. Right. But when we can use sound as like a tool for meditation, a tool for our own self inquiry, and also as a practice to engage with versus something that just like passively is happening to us, I find it's a little bit stronger. So I like to, instead of saying like, a sound bath where maybe that implies a more like passive experience. I like to call it a sound meditation, which I think like encourages people to like lean into it a little bit more and to like take back their agency around their participation as a practitioner there in the room versus just like me as the facilitator being the one that's doing something to you. So that's something to consider, you know, like if you've gone to a sound meditation, a sound experience, and it hasn't felt quite healing, maybe just reworking your mindset around it of like, this is a practice, right? This is something that I go to and can do repeatedly and have different experiences with. And that's where that growth or that healing that I'm looking for can come. I think that helps to open it up a little bit versus and like manage expectations around it a little more.
Ooh, I love that. And I love that differentiation. I was actually curious whether you offer private sessions or if you just do groups.
I do private sessions here and there. I think I found out over the years that I think I like working with groups better because I think, you know, I'm a Leo. I like a group. I like a I like a crowd of people. Even with like small groups, I find it is just really nourishing to have other people in the space to like anchor it. And I find sometimes in one-on-one sessions, at least I felt this when I was doing Reiki one-on-one, I felt like sometimes the students or the clients would come to me and think that I would have like all the answers or like
Mm.
almost like a therapist, like really be able to like fix them in some way or like help them in some way. And I find in a group experience that like uh responsibility is more shared with the group and there's a little bit more sense of community and like support in that. And so I find I prefer doing group sessions. I've definitely
Mhm.
done one-on-one sessions and one-on-one trainings with people, but I just find like the energy of a group and like the bouncing ideas off one another and the sharing that happens in those kind of spaces to be just more like fulfilling to me. So, but yeah, you can reach out if you want to do a private, I'm available. But if you want to do a group, I'm more excited for that.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here, Lindsay.
Thank
It means
you.
so much. Hey, if you like this podcast episode, please download it, give us a nice review, and follow us on Instagram at Journey with VRD to get all the latest and the greatest updates. Till next week.